Yeah, maybe you could, just like high level, what are your thoughts on their competitive position? I mean, I know they're number one in the market in certain categories. Maybe just speaking on toxicology or other areas you're most familiar with, how are they distinguished from their competitors?
Yeah. So I think we have to think of this in two ways, because in preclinical tox there are two major players, right? Charles River and Covance, and they have different market positions when you think about biopharma as a whole versus if we're focusing on preclinical. So because Covance has such a strong clinical organization, I don't know the revenue numbers for the two organizations, but I'm guessing Covance is higher because elevated by their clinical component. I do think Charles River is the market leader in preclinical, so everything up to IND enabling studies, but including later phase non-clinical like developmental tox and other things that might be done concurrently with clinical trials. So I'm guessing that Covance has a larger market cap, but Charles River is the leader in the preclinical space. Really, in preclinical tox, there's sort of, like I said, there are two major players, especially, with all the recent acquisitions and consolidation. There used to be a more vibrant mid-tier. Many of those players have been acquired, so that area is shrinking. And then there are a lot of small players that may be regional, that may be limited in their capabilities. They may be limited in the species that they can accommodate or the routes of administration. So that's sort of how how I see the market is breaking down. And I think in the last 5 years, the mid-tier has shrunk, leaving sort of a bigger gap between the Charles River and Covance and the rest of the world.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. And so just so I understand, so within safety assessment, your main, because I know within that they've got like bioanalysis, drug metabolism, pharmacokinetics, safety pharmacology, then they've got toxicology. Your main areas you've worked on involve toxicology.
I would say it includes all of those things, right?
Oh, okay.
You need all those components to run an IND enabling program.
Yeah.
Right. You need BioA, you need analytical chemistry, bioanalytical chemistry, PK, safety farms, tox. I have worked in some pharmacology, so in vivo pharmacology, which would be concurrent or before tox, depending on the program, and then obviously some of those components, like I said, extend into clinical. There's clinical BioA, there's and then there are some safety studies that run later in the development phase.
In our understanding, this is just from Charles River, public information. They say that overall in safety, drug safety assessment, that the outsourcing of that to companies like Charles River and Covance is about 55% or greater, that penetration level of outsourcing. What are the drivers? Like, what drives whether for pharma companies, whether to outsource this or to do it in-house?
So if I can understand the data you just shared, that was of all, let's say, for example, to simplify it, of all of the tox studies run in the universe, 45% are run internally in companies and 55% are outsourced?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's fair, maybe a little bit low, but probably fair.
Okay.
So then your question is, what drives the company to outsource as opposed to maintaining the work internally?
Yeah, basically, what are the main factors driving that, and what would be, and then I'd be curious to hear about trends and how pharma companies are acting today in that regard.
Yep, and it sounds like an easy question, but it's actually a very complex question. So,
okay.
The way I see the market is it breaks into segments.